One day your cat jumps onto the couch for the very last time, and neither of you realizes it. Because growing old doesn't happen all at once. It happens quietly, one little change at a time. If you've shared your life with a cat for years, you've probably noticed something. Cats don't complain. They don't point to what hurts. They don't tell us when they're scared. Instead, they keep doing what cats have always done. They eat, they sleep, they watch birds through the window, and somehow they convince us everything is fine, until one day, something feels different. Maybe it's so small you almost miss it. A jump they don't make anymore, a little extra meowing at night, a hesitation before climbing the stairs. It's easy to shrug those moments off and say, well, they're just getting older. And sometimes that's exactly what it is. But sometimes those tiny changes are your cat's way of asking for help in the only language they know, their behavior. Today isn't about making you worry. It's about helping you understand what your senior cat may be trying to tell you, because the better we understand them, the better we can love them. Think back to when your cat was younger. Maybe they only meowed when dinner was late, or when they wanted the door opened. Then, almost without noticing, something changed. Now, they're calling out from another room, sometimes in the middle of the night, sometimes while staring down an empty hallway. Sometimes they walk into the living room, let out a soft little meow, then simply stand there. At first, it can be frustrating. You check the food bowl, it's full. You check the water, it's fresh. The litter box is clean. So why are they meowing? Here's something many people don't realize. As cats grow older, their world can slowly begin to change. Their eyesight may not be as sharp. Sounds may become harder to hear. Some senior cats also experience age-related changes in how they process familiar places and routines. Imagine waking up in your own home, but for just a moment, you're not quite sure where you are. That's a frightening feeling. Calling out may simply be your cat's way of finding reassurance. Many veterinarians recommend paying attention to new nighttime vocalizing, especially if it's a sudden change. While it can happen as part of normal aging, it can also be linked to pain, high blood pressure, thyroid disease, changes in vision or hearing, or age-related cognitive decline. That's why it's always worth mentioning to your veterinarian. But here's the part that stays with me. Many cat parents say the moment they quietly answered their cat, everything changed. They didn't yell across the house. They simply said, "Hey buddy, I'm right here." And almost immediately, the meowing stopped. Not because the problem disappeared, but because their cat had found what they were looking for. The comfort of a familiar voice. Sometimes that's all they needed. Here's another change that's easy to misunderstand. The independent cat who barely noticed where you were suddenly becomes your little shadow. They wait outside the bathroom. They follow you into the kitchen. They curl up beside your chair while you work. At first, it's adorable. You might even joke, well, someone suddenly likes me. But what if that's not the whole story? As cats age, they often become more selective about where they spend their time. Not because they've become needy, because they know where they feel safest. Think about it. When we're young, we explore, we wander, we're independent. But as we grow older, familiar faces and familiar places become comforting. Cats aren't so different. For some senior cats, simply hearing your footsteps or sitting beside you helps them feel secure in a world that's becoming a little less predictable. One cat owner described how her 16-year-old cat suddenly started following her everywhere. The kitchen, the laundry room, even the mailbox. She laughed about it for weeks, until her veterinarian discovered her cat's vision had begun to decline. Staying close wasn't attention-seeking, it was trust. She knew exactly who made her feel safe, and maybe your cat feels exactly the same. Sometimes love doesn't become smaller with age. It becomes quieter and much easier to miss if you aren't looking for it. Cats may be independent by nature, but that doesn't mean they don't seek comfort. In fact, some senior cats become more affectionate than they've ever been. Not because they've changed who they are, but because they've learned exactly who they trust. And maybe that's one of the most beautiful parts of growing old together. Your cat isn't asking you to solve every problem. Sometimes they're simply asking you to stay close. Here's something I wish every cat parent knew. The biggest changes are often the quietest ones. They're so easy to miss because they don't happen overnight. Instead, they slowly disappear. Maybe your cat always jumped onto the windowsill every morning to watch the birds. Then one day, you notice they've been watching from the floor instead, not because they lost interest, because the jump has become harder. Maybe they used to race downstairs the moment they heard the treat bag. Now they take their time, one careful step after another. Maybe they spent years grooming themselves until their fur looked spotless, but lately, their coat seems a little messy. A few tiny mats begin to appear around their back or hips. These moments don't always mean something serious is happening. Sometimes they're simply part of getting older. Arthritis, reduced flexibility, dental discomfort, or other age-related changes can make everyday routines more difficult than they once were. The important thing isn't to panic. It's to notice, because once you notice, you can help. Maybe it's placing a small step next to the couch. Maybe it's switching to a lower-sided litter box that's easier to enter. Maybe it's brushing them a little more often because reaching certain areas has become uncomfortable. To your cat, those little changes can make a very big difference. One owner told a story that many people can probably relate to. Her cat had always slept on the top shelf of a tall cat tree. It was his favorite place in the house. Then one week, he stopped climbing it. She almost bought a brand new cat tree thinking he'd grown bored. Instead, her veterinarian explained that mild arthritis was making the climb painful. So she placed a sturdy footstool beside the tree. The next morning, he climbed up again. A little slower than before, but he made it. Sometimes love isn't doing something extraordinary. Sometimes it's simply making life a little easier for someone who spent years making your house feel like home. And as our cats grow older, there's one change that can be the hardest of all to understand because it doesn't involve where they sleep or how high they jump. It changes something much deeper, their daily routine. And that's often where they're telling us the most. If there's one thing cats love, it's routine. They like breakfast at the same time. They nap in the same favorite spot. They patrol the same rooms in the same order day after day. So when those routines suddenly begin to change, it's worth paying attention. Maybe your cat starts sleeping in places they've never chosen before. Instead of curling up on the windowsill, they're resting under the bed. Instead of greeting you at the front door, they're still asleep when you get home. Or maybe they begin missing the litter box, even though they've used it perfectly for years. For many cat parents, this is the moment frustration creeps in. You wonder, why is my cat doing this now? But try looking at it from your cat's point of view. Imagine if every staircase suddenly felt steeper, if every jump required more effort, if your eyesight wasn't as clear as it used to be, or if you woke up one morning and your joints ached in ways they never had before. The routine hasn't changed because your cat stopped caring. Sometimes it's because the routine has become harder. This is why veterinarians often encourage cat owners to pay close attention to sudden changes in habits, especially in senior cats, a different sleeping spot, changes in appetite, drinking much more or much less than usual, using the litter box differently, sleeping significantly more, or seeming confused in places that were once familiar. These changes don't automatically mean something serious is wrong, but they do deserve your attention. Because the earlier a problem is recognized, the more opportunities there may be to help your cat stay comfortable and enjoy a better quality of life. One family shared something that stayed with me. Their 17-year-old cat had greeted them at the front door every single evening for more than a decade, without fail. Then one afternoon, he wasn't there. The family found him asleep in his favorite chair. At first, they smiled and said, "I guess he's just getting lazy." But over the next few weeks, they noticed other little changes too. He wasn't climbing the stairs as often. He wasn't finishing every meal. He seemed quieter. A veterinary visit revealed that he was living with arthritis. With treatment, a few adjustments around the house, and a little extra support, he started greeting them again, Not every single day, not as quickly as before, but often enough to remind them that sometimes our cats aren't giving up. They're simply asking for a little help, and that's an important difference. Here's something I hope every cat parent remembers. Growing older isn't a failure, it's a privilege. Not every cat gets the chance to grow old with the person they love. The grey hairs around their face, the slower walk across the living room, the longer afternoon naps. Those aren't just signs of aging. They're reminders of every year you've spent together. Every quiet morning, every lazy Sunday, every time they climbed into your lap without being invited. Every time they somehow knew you needed company, even when no one else did. Your senior cat doesn't expect you to be perfect. They don't expect you to have all the answers. They simply trust that when something changes, you'll notice. Sometimes the greatest act of love isn't buying another toy or the fanciest bed. Sometimes it's scheduling that veterinary appointment, adding a small step beside the couch, brushing the places they can no longer reach, or sitting beside them for a few extra minutes before your day begins. Those moments may seem ordinary to us, but to your cat, they can mean everything. If you've watched this far, here's what I hope you take away from today's video. Most of the changes we've talked about aren't your cat trying to make life difficult. They're trying to adapt to growing older, to a body that doesn't always move the way it used to a world that may look or sound a little different than before. And through all of those changes, there's one thing many cats never stop looking for. You, your voice, your presence, your comfort, your home. Because to your cat, home has never just been a place. Home has always been the person they trust the most. One day, all of us who love cats will look back and wish we had just one more afternoon together. One more nap on the couch, one more gentle purr, one more slow blink across the room. Until that day comes, let's notice the little things. Let's be patient with the slower steps. Let's answer the midnight meow. Let's celebrate every quiet moment we still get to share. Because our cats may never speak our language, but they've been speaking to us with their hearts all along. If this video helped you see your senior cat in a new way, I'd love to hear about them. How old are they? And what's one little habit they still have that always makes you smile? Share your story in the comments. I read everyone. And if you'd like more videos that help you understand your cat a little better, please subscribe, because the better we understand our cats, the better we can love them. I'll see you in the next one.